How's it going? I'm here with Chris Leben. How was your day?
Pretty good, pretty exciting, I gotta say, pretty exciting.
Look, I got a chance to watch your last performance. It was explosive. You did it extremely quick, and with the knowledge that you have from MMA and then just being a talented fighter, did that knowledge come and help you out in bare-knuckle boxing?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I feel like this sport was designed for me. My favorite thing to do is punch people in the face. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. My base is wrestling, but anybody will tell you, punching people is my favorite thing to do. I think I'm pretty good at it. And with the bare knuckle, it's not MMA, but it's also not boxing because, having the ability to hold and hit, you can underhook, you can grab the wrist, you can hold the back of the head, utilizing those leverage points that guys don't do or they can't do in boxing. And I feel like that's where I'm best, fighting up, putting a guy on the cage, or in this case, putting a guy on the ropes, grabbing their head and exploding their nose.
Now, this won't be specific to Paulie, but just for a lot of boxers who's going to get into the sport and stuff, obviously they look at it and they go, hey, like yourself, you're a great striker. Other boxers come like, hey, I can strike, I can move, and I can essentially hit harder. When you first came in and experienced, holding behind the neck and utilizing and turning your opponents and striking that way, was that surprising the first time when you realized you can do that? And was there more leverage to those punches?
Well, I train in a gym, and we have a really great boxing program. A lot of high-level professional boxers. I train with those guys, and if you're a boxer and you're interested in getting into bare knuckle, hey, your base is there. But you need to do some cross training. You need to practice with the little gloves on. You need to start working those. You got to learn how to defend when somebody grabs your head, because the ref's not going to break it up. As long as you're still punching in this sport, they're going to let you go. So you got to learn how to get your wrist away. You got to learn how to fight an underhook. These are basic fundamental things. I think, with not too much training, you could really elevate your skills there, and then I think you would be a force as a boxer in this sport. But absolutely, there's an adapting process.
Now, with MMA fighters coming in, I feel that they may have an advantage over some boxers in the sense of like grabbing behind the neck, maybe the Muay Thai clinching that I know you've been experiencing. What does MMA fighters come in that would be an advantage opposed to the boxers in something called a bare knuckle boxing?
Well, yeah, it's the dirty boxing. It's the Greco stuff. It's the fighting. It's the fighting on the ropes. It's the punching on the. In boxing, when you're on the inside, you're riding and countering. That doesn't happen here. If you're on the inside, I'm going to grab your head or I'm going to dig an underhook. And so MMA fighters definitely have that. But what do boxers have? Well, they've trained at that range their entire career. In MMA, you've got to worry about the takedown. You've got to worry about kicks. The range is further away. Boxing is right here. So from what I see, boxers, they know how to stay just outside of those punches. Where MMA guys are either too far in or they're too far out. So I think both. This sport is not MMA, this sport is not boxing. That's the bottom line. This is its own thing, and you have to train for it accordingly.
Now, when I was watching the fight, I couldn't tell because I know the wraps are not on the actual knuckles, but on around your wrist and things like that. Has there ever been a time where the wraps had some abrasion or cut, or I've just wondered, has that been any type of, how would I say it?
Well, I'm sure to some point, even when you're training with boxing gloves and you're training clinch or MMA gloves, you're going to get those Velcro burns, But a big deal, a little scratch from the wrap is not quite the highest thing on the totem pole when I'm in a bare knuckle fist fight.
How do you maintain your hands? Because it's obviously the gloves are meant for you to protect your precious hands and make sure that you guys don't get hurt.
Well, I think the main thing is you get through your training camp healthy. I wrap the hand, I wrap the hand and I punch mitts with bare knuckle to get used to the range. Okay. Obviously, you can't spar that way. I've done some other things for conditioning my knuckles, but ultimately, if I'm gonna break my hand, I want to break it in the fight. So you make it to the fight and then you get through it, And the truth, I busted this knuckle in my first fight. You can see it's substantially bigger, but hey, now it's better than ever. It hurt for a little while, but now I wouldn't change a thing.
And I got two set of questions, and I'll let you go. Appreciate the time.
Sure.
You mentioned something I didn't realize, but you mentioned that you train bare knuckle because you want to get used to the range.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the gloves, you know, it's small, but can we talk about how much of a difference that range?
It's a huge difference. You know, a boxing glove is this thick, an MMA glove is this thick, and at the high, you know, 1.5 inches at the highest level is a light year in distance. Yeah. You know, so the biggest adjustment I had to make was actually the range. You know, where that sweet spot, I was just barely touching them. I had to drive through by another inch, and that's something that's trained in your brain after years and years and years of repetitions. So it does, to kind of critique that and get that dialed in, it does take some work.
And my very last set of questions, you being a great fighter, you've been a pioneer for MMA as well as the new sport of bare knuckle boxing. I was just curious, when you were young, did you ever play games like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter?
Oh.
And then who were some of your favorite characters in like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter?
Well, you know, honestly, I got these big sausage fingers, so my favorite character was Blanca, Street Fighter, because you could just push the button real fast and he'd electrocute guys. You know, my friends were a lot more technical. I'm a little bit of a button masher. You can tell by my fighting style. So.
Well, what's really cool is a lot of guys who play video games now, they're huge fans of MMA and combat sports, so they actually watch you fight, pick up some of the traps and baits and implement it now, and the fighting games are actually a big thing.
It's crazy how advanced the games have gotten now, to where you can actually watch a fighter and emulate his style on a video game.
Absolutely. Look, I appreciate the time. It was a pleasure and honor to finally meet you and do this interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have social media where fans can follow your journey?
Chris Leben MMA on Instagram, and then I'm on Twitter, Facebook. Just look for the blue check.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.